Hey, welcome to Apollo City Comics. Today we're talking about Little Bird. I stole it from you because today I picked the book. So I just felt...
Do you want to do a clap?
I should bring it in. We don't need to do a clap because we're not syncing any video anymore.
This is the first one without video.
Yeah, plot twist, everyone. We just decided no video. There's going to be a video version available on YouTube still. It'll have some images that Brandon's going to comb the internets for. He might even draw some himself and scan them in. That's what he told me. He said he's going to do at least 100 images an episode. So make sure you hold him to that.
We'll have a little counter.
And he said if he does it, if he misses it even once, he's going to get a tattoo of Hamtaro from the Japanese anime on his ankle. So just remember.
I'll have a trail of them going up my leg.
Oh, he's going to have all the hams, everyone. Okay, so let's dive in today, man. Little Bird is a 2019 Image book.
It kind of came out of nowhere. It
snuck up, and it's only 5 issues. But, well, and the thing is like, at first it seemed like it was going to be a self-contained story. Mm-hmm. But in the last issue, at the end of the issue, they do tell you that, hey, like, this is the first chapter of many. So when you open up Little Bird, this story in particular is called The Fight for Elder's Hope. So yeah, we're going to get some more Little Bird in the future. It's written by Darcy Van Polgeest.
Sounds about right.
We have the illustrations by Ian Bertram. Mm-hmm. And then we have Matt Hollingsworth doing the inking. Colors.
He does a lot of coloring. He does it for Sean Murphy. And Sean Murphy does like Batman White Knight. I think he did it for Tokyo Ghost and stuff like that too. I know him. Yeah, right.
I know I have his name on another book in here.
Yeah, he does a lot of great coloring. And I love the coloring in this book too. It really... The reds feel so good. Yeah,
there's such a... Every time red's on the page, it's such a stark contrast to everything else that you... I don't know. It's got great imagery. It's got great imagery. The art style's awesome. I think it's perfect for this kind of story. Mm-hmm. Things feel very visceral, brutal. It's a brutal story.
It's a very brutal story. And that's what... It's interesting because the title is so... subtle.
Oh, Little Bird.
Little Bird, you know what I mean? But it is a brutal book.
It's a brutal book, man.
There's
people are dying.
Parts
people
where
are torching.
Like there's nothing but action and blood and guts.
Oh yeah.
Like for
I think issue 3 in particular is a big one. But well, let's start at the beginning. So
real fast.
I'm sorry. What's up?
I want to talk about the artist and writer on this too.
Oh yeah.
Because it's an indie comic. It's not very well known. These are kind of people coming out. The writer Darcy actually came from a film background.
Interesting.
And I felt that was it stood out with the comic. It wasn't the typical comic book pacing, I feel. There was a lot of jumps in the story. There was a lot of gaps that you kind of had to piece the connections yourself because either visually that part of the story wasn't being told or just, throughout the writing it wasn't being told. You really had to assume a lot of stuff.
I could see it as being one movie or a mini series because each issue ends on a cliffhanger and then there's that little jump you're talking about.
Yeah.
And where we hop ahead a little bit and then we kind of figure what's been going on.
Yeah. I think once I hit issue 3, 4 and 5, I kind of had to backtrack a little bit each time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because you're kind of confused. There's such big jumps and movements happen. And you kind of have to be like, oh, and then it all makes sense once you look back at it. Just like when you rewatch a film, if you go through it too fast, you're like, I didn't make that connection. But on a reread, I was like, this is awesome. This is great jumping. And I love stories like that.
There's a big moment in issue 5, which we'll get to. But there's a moment in issue 5 where I started reading the book and I was like, wait, what? Do I need to reread issue 4? Did I miss something? And then I was like, oh, that's what's going on.
Exactly. And that was a big moment for me where I was like, I need to go backwards real fast. And it was when I picked up issue 5.
Yeah.
Issue 4 slightly, but 5 was the one I was just like, this is ending.
And it ends for sure.
And honestly, just as like, it's a filmmaker having unlimited funding for a film, this guy goes all out, like, and especially with those action scenes. And what I noticed a lot with the characters in the story is that none of them are just like your regular relatable characters. They all had some really big, unique thing going on with them. And it's a pro and a con at the same time.
I see what you're saying.
Because everyone's kind of bombastic in their own way.
None of it's grounded at all.
Yeah, at all whatsoever. And it's also cool because it's like, it's total imagination. Just I mean, even the basic security guard, he has that metal arm that he's searching for. You know what I mean? So having that unlimited funding and being able to do whatever you want, I could tell that he just kind of went all out with the action scenes, with the characters, and with what they could do and stuff like that. Like, this guy held nothing back at that point. And I really enjoyed that about that. But, I mean, I think during my first read, it did take a second reread for me to really appreciate the story. But my first read, I was kind of like, this is too much. Like, this is too insane. Okay. Like, this is
interesting.
Weird.
Yeah.
But just, like, kind of sitting back and enjoying it, not trying to analyze it so much, it was fun. It was great.
It takes a little bit to kind of catch up with what everything is going on in the world. Because they'll have, like, one line in the book, and that's supposed to explain a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
for instance, there's a line early on about mods.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what are mods? But then you realize, all these people are like genetically modified.
Yeah.
And it's, for a while, you're just seeing all these weird creatures. You're like, are these aliens or these, what's going on?
And if you missed that, there was this reread when I caught that.
Yeah,
and then going over it again, it all made sense. Even like thematically, with the whole, her becoming a wolf and stuff like that, I thought it was all tied in really well.
That was really cool. Well, there's so much, it's like poetry, it rhymes. There's so much callbacks.
Yeah.
Like the first issue's text and the last issue's text, there's a lot of stuff that's just similar.
I was just going to say,
straight off the page,
love
and
how
redone.
they bring it right back around.
Yeah.
And I love stories that do that, where you start on somewhere and you end on that same note, and it all just connects so well.
Which is really going to get me into my thesis of this whole episode, is that Little Bird is straight up Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the story is almost exactly like Star Wars. It's way more extreme and more intense. But even the way that things kind of just come back around, very, very Star Wars.
And
exciting.
The artist, Ian, he right away picking up this book, first issue in, I'm like, this guy was inspired by Frank Quitely. Frank Quitely did a lot of work. He did all of Grant Morrison's work on X-Men, which is my favorite X-Men run.
Okay.
He did Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin. He's done, I mean, so much DC and some great Marvel work. He's a very high-end artist, and Flex Metallo, We 3 is a book we need to read, because I think that is a story that it's a quick read, and the artwork is just insane. But immediately you could tell he was inspired by this. And I felt that, and I was reading it, and then I was looking into this guy's past work. In around 20, I don't want to say 15 or 16, somewhere around there, Marvel put out a series called Secret Wars. And this was by Jonathan Hickman. And they had the whole Battle Worlds thing going on. So it was like kind of different, like the multiverse of Marvel and all that happening at once. And there was one section called E is for Extinction. E is for Extinction. And it was based along the X-Men storyline that Morrison wrote, because they took Morrison's X-Men out of continuity. It was just too crazy for them. So they went back to this X-Men universe, and I was looking at the artwork. I was like, did Frank Quitely come back and do this E is for Extinction one? And I was looking at it, and I have all the issues. I never really read them, but the artwork caught my eye, and I love that artwork. And it turns out it was Ian, but that's how similar his artwork is to Frank Quitely.
He could fill in almost for another person.
Yeah,
that's
it's not as like precise and exactly detailed, but when you look at him, we'll do some Quitely stuff at some point.
I'll have to check that out.
But it's great, and I love it, and I think it fit the story really well. And it was, I mean, there's just some cool stuff he does with it that looks brutal, you know. And let's dive. I just want to talk about that real fast, because I thought that was really interesting about both creators at that point.
I agree, man. It's something where all of the different pieces, they complement each other perfectly.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Sometimes you get a really good story, but you don't like the art style, or the art style is really nice, but the story's like in the can.
And
it's a good one.
Curious, because also they have an upcoming project called Precious Metals, and that's coming out in 2020, and it's both of them working together again.
Interesting.
And the picture I saw from it, it looks like the character from Little Bird. I'm not too sure. It could be something totally different.
It could be chapter 2, though.
It could be,
and they say at the end of issue 5 that there's going to be something coming up soon.
Oh, that's right.
It's like Little Bird might be over, but hey, something's coming back real soon.
So that could be it. It could be Precious Metals. So keep an eye out for that from Image. We'll definitely go
I'm gonna keep an eye out for that, man. I love this book.
But this was a very good versus evil kind of coming to age story tale.
It's the Empire, the hero's journey.
Yes, yeah.
It's all those classic tropes told one more time. Well, our story starts off. It takes place in Canada, in the Rocky Mountains of Canada, which they call the Holy Mountains. There's this village of people that seem to be, and this is a huge thing about Canadian history too, you get a very like Native American vibe, or indigenous people, I should say. Well, no, they're Native Americans too. It's North America. And in this book, you get this thing. They even talk about it in one of the letters where you can kind of see the representation of European settlers forcing out Native Americans.
Yes.
And Canada and the United States, we have that similarity in our history where that happened in both countries where indigenous people were like, taken away. But that's kind of the vibe you get right off the bat, that this group of rebels is what you know them as at the beginning. And they even call them elders.
Yeah.
They have an indigenous people kind of vibe. Little Bird, our main character, has an owl that goes around with her that's like her guide, like her spiritual guide. So there's a lot of Native American imagery. But we start off with, I'm trying to think of, Tonto is her name, right? No. Tantu.
Tantu, yeah.
It's very similar to Lone Ranger.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I was reading it when I first saw it.
Tantu is Little Bird's mother. She leads this tribe of people, and they say that they're going to launch this final attack. They're going to get out the axe, and they go together, and they put Little Bird in this secret hole. It's like they dug a hole in the ground. They have a little lid on top of it, and they leave her in there, and she's in there for 3 days. And when she opens up the lid again, she looks out, and her entire village has been burned, and everyone's like dead.
Yes.
Yeah. And her mother's missing. She has no idea where anyone's at.
And that's when you discover who the villain is too, which is crazy. Like how they blended that together.
Yeah.
Looking at the devastation from her village, she's the only lone survivor.
That's it. Yeah. She's at the beginning of the book, she's just all by herself. And then, we have the imagery. She finds one of the soldiers' dead helmets. She puts on the helmet, and in the helmet, there's like a screen playing like a propaganda reel or something. And we see that this guy, Bishop, is in charge of the Holy Empire, which is now the United States.
It's like, was it theocracy that's going on?
Theocracy.
Yeah.
And then we have like an American flag, but instead of the stars in the blue part, it's just like a white Christian cross. So... yeah, the U.S. has been taken over by some ideological, like, extremist Christian group, and they've now taken over the world, it seems like. Like, they've conquered Canada, and now there's only some people left there. Yeah. We get a lot of weird imagery with this guy, because they kind of treat him like the Pope in a weird way. I saw a lot of, like, papal things.
A warrior Pope, you know what I mean?
And that stuff I think is exactly what you expect. There's got the huddled masses that he's kind of like brainwashed, and all the people in the audience who are listening to him, they all have these boils on their faces and stuff, which they get into later. But it's clear that they're just like they're not doing well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like this isn't a good future at all.
And, when they show him in this bathtub on the next page, that's the first sign where I thought of, like, Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham's The Nameless. And that's a very Lovecraftian space story. But just the artwork here, you have these weird intestine-looking tubes going into this pool of red.
They're like if tentacles look like intestines.
Yeah.
That's what everything looks like in the book.
And he's just kind of taking care of himself and bathing himself. And then he gets the new outfit, the white robes and everything, and he thought it was very appropriate for a new fashion sense and everything.
So we have our next big scene is Little Bird breaking into this facility. She had a plan, like a paper plan that was left by her mom, Tantu. And it says to like get the axe and free him and save the world or something like that. Hope exists is the line they say.
This is the whole go find Obi-Wan moment. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
It's so much Star Wars, man. That's what I'm telling you. So she guts a wolf while telling the story about becoming the wolf. And she's wearing the wolf's like skin on her back. So she looks like a injured wolf or something.
Yeah.
And she gets in there and immediately I got the vibe because I just read it too from Kick-Ass. She reminds me of like Hit Girl. She's a little girl who has like she's way too good at killing. Like her efficiency is insane.
She's obviously been training since she was
born.
Yeah,
which we get that idea from the story. But she goes in and frees the Axe, who is this giant man with a Canadian flag on his shirt. He's awesome. The Axe is so cool.
And it's funny because, what I like about the revelation here is that she goes up and, as just a casual reader, you're just like the Axe. Like, is it like some mighty blade and stuff like that? Some symbolic thing?
Yeah.
But you discover that's this dude, and the dude makes, oh man, the creatures in the scene too. great stuff in this book.
There's a really cool thing. It's like Cabin in the Woods. Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, really? You need to watch that. There's a scene in Cabin in the Woods where we see all these monsters behind glass boxes. And it reminds me a lot of the scene in Little Bird, because you go into this facility where they've imprisoned all these dangerous people who've probably tried to rise up against the Empire.
Oh, wow.
And there's just all kinds of weird creatures. And there's also a Superman in there, which I thought was hilarious.
I was going to say, I like all those superhero tropes they put into here. Because there's one, even a guy peeing on the wall that looks like 80 years old that's just floating in the air. And then they have that Superman trapped inside of what looks like the Fortress of Solitude.
It does. Well. It's got the same vibe to it.
And that's the cool part of this book. There's so much weird creativity that you kind of want to know more about than anything. Like, they built a universe just by the images. And it's all very, to me at least, after reading like Providence by Alan Moore and stuff like that, it's all very Lovecraftian.
Yeah, it is definitely got a touch of Lovecraft. What I love about his world building is he'll introduce something that makes no sense, and then a few pages later explain it, and you're like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And the biggest moment, like right off the bat for me, is when we see the Axe escape with Little Bird.
Yeah.
They send all these like soldiers who have all this religious symbolism on them. They have like crosses on their masks and everything.
He's like this oversized Santa Claus too.
Yeah, he looks like Santa Claus, but just super, super ripped. And then he starts just attacking these guys, and they're filling him with bullets. Mm-hmm. And he's just not dying. So when I first read this, I was so confused. I was like, do people just not die from guns in this universe?
I was going to say, there's a thing about Little Bird, her mom, and the Axe where they just don't die.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you missed that part of dialogue, but they have the resurrection gene. So they were.
I saw that at the end.
Their modifications themselves. Oh. And this is a little bit of spoilers, but the Axe is Tantu's mom, or Tantu's father.
Yeah.
So he passed down that gene to her.
That makes sense.
And she passed that gene down to Little Bird.
Okay, cool.
And it's a beautiful part of the story because Little Bird breaks out her grandfather and doesn't even know that it's her grandfather. And he doesn't know either. Mm-hmm. So they become friends. They become companions. And after they escape that facility, there's a moment where you think the Axe might leave.
Yeah.
But instead, he ends up coming back to help her. There's one other thing we're missing, that Tantu got captured. So everyone else in the village is dead. Tantu got captured and is being held by Bishop. And we find out that Bishop and Tantu have some sort of past together.
Yes. And that was just revealed right where we left off right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the story hops around a lot. Mm-hmm. We see a lot of what's going on with Bishop, this like evil leader, and then we see what's going on with, just various other people. This issue ends with a great cliffhanger, man. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
oh wait, before we get to the end there, these floating kid things where they lift up their outfits they're nothing but the intestine things, and then just blades coming out of them and scythes and all that.
Bishop has these weird, like, I don't know, sentinels? I don't know what you'd call them. They look like children, but they float. And they have these black coats that look like religious garb, like what a priest would wear. Mm-hmm. But they're terrifying, dude. They're so scary.
So scary. Like,
I would love to see, and it would have to be the right director, but I would love to see like a live adaptation of this. With just,
it'd have to be animated. I'd have to.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's too.
It's too over the top.
Well, like when you look at the other the priest garb looking guys with the guns when they open the door.
Yeah.
How their faces are, how their eyeballs are just floating in their helmets, and their heads kind of just meat is in there, meat and blood.
Ugh. Every time you look at a page, there's just like more. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's so much little details and.
And the way they chop people in half in this entire book, someone gets chopped, like their limbs get cut off at some point.
Yeah,
like,
every other page is someone getting a limb removed or getting chopped in half.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they, like you said, you think they're gonna. Oh my gosh, I gotta post this one up. It's the one where the Axe is chopping the dude in half.
Yeah. So the guy who Little Bird, when she gets in there, she like holds a knife to someone's throat. Mm-hmm. And makes them release the Axe.
The robot Garmai.
The guy who she's got his arm, his robotic arm. Mm-hmm. And then all those people show up. They fight their way out. The place gets exploded by this bombing strike, and then you think they're out, but that same guard who Little Bird was threatening shoots her in the neck, and kills her. And then you see the Axe like split this dude down the middle.
And reading that that part and seeing her get shot in the neck, it right away made me think, not knowing, the rest of the story, and, what we learned about it, is that I was like, well, maybe every issue is going to pick up with a new character. Because when you look at the covers, too, each one has, a new person on it.
The covers, man, the covers are amazing. Every issue is a what you call it? A portrait of one of the main characters.
Yes.
So there's 5 issues, and it's the 5 main characters. Mm-hmm. But on every issue, this like red liquid with all this intestine tentacles, it's like slowly rising from the ground.
Oh, it's a good observation.
And it gets more full until the final issue where it's like
sinking in.
It's just totally enveloped.
Very, very true. I did not think about it that way.
Looking at them all, like it makes me want to just like frame all of them and hang them on my wall, like all 5 of them.
And the artwork in this is beautiful. I mean, page 1 of issue 2 itself.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, like it's very Frank Whiteley. When you look at We 3 and stuff like that, it is.
This looks like something out of a 70s comic book, like the first picture of page 2 for sure.
I like how you see what looks like to be below ground and above ground at the same time.
Yeah, so issue 2 starts off with this weird dream sequence thing because Little Bird's dead. She's like in the afterlife and her mom's there.
This eyeball part, I thought the same thing. It was like a 70s cartoon, like Forbidden Planet or something like that,
And it even reminds me a little bit of what we saw in the really ridiculous stuff in Infinity Gauntlet. Like when you get in that really space celestial stuff and it's doing all these kind of like trippy things. Mm-hmm. There's this giant eye that like represents every moment that you've been alive. And there's like this endless staircase that's what do they call that loop? The one where if you were to like trace it, it's impossible.
The Infinity Loop?
No.
I don't know what it's called.
Frank, you're down there. You know what I'm talking about?
I wasn't even paying attention to what you were talking about.
There's like a loop where it's like an optical illusion where like if you followed one side of it, it always ends up on the other side.
Okay.
I can't think of what it's called.
Oh, I have no idea what it's called, but I know exactly which one.
It's driving me nuts. Well, it's very MC Escher is what I should say. There we go.
There you go.
Now I still sound sophisticated. It's very Escher.
You still sound sophisticated, but everybody knows you're dumb, so it's a nice...
Perfect. Hopefully we can just mute that all the way out.
And this is the backstory of her... Well, we start to see some backstory from issue 1, but now we're going into more backstory of her mom at this point, saying how she fell from the darkness and all of this, and she crashed down, and she basically just fell apart, and they put her back together.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's the resurrection gene. These people really can't die. Mm-hmm. They just have to have enough time to be able to be like put back together, sort of like Terminator 2.
And then you kind of think that the axe is that's right. Yeah, seriously. You think the axe is a kind of a villain at this moment too.
They paint it that way. So Bishop has Tantu in the past. Mm-hmm. They're together, and he's trying to convince her that the axe is.
So Bishop acted like
evil
a
monster.
Father figure to
Tantu.
Yeah.
But then also tried to marry her as well. Maybe you miss. I don't know. I feel like you missed a little bit of this.
No,
it's
that
okay.
makes
I
sense.
got you to catch it because in spoiler for the whole thing. Bishop is Little Bird's father.
Yeah.
So they had some kind of relationship. After she was pregnant, she escapes New Vatican, which is like the capital, and then starts the resistance. It seems like.
Yeah.
Just
when she escapes,
woods.
yeah.
And it's crazy because it would be interesting if someone were to just cut the comic book up and like put all the panels in order. You could just read it chronologically because the scene ends there. But we learn a few issues later that Bishop comes back like immediately after that scene. Mm-hmm. But we'll tell the story.
And it's really good family ties how they do it, and it's such a great essence of a family story that's kind of refreshing in a sense because of how complicated it is.
And again, it's also very Star Wars because you have the leader of the Empire, and it turns out to be your father.
Yeah.
And he's killed your mother. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's all very like it's super Star Wars. We're also introduced to Gabriel in this issue.
Oh yeah.
Who is Bishop's son who wears this mask because he's so sick, like he's gonna die, and they're trying to find the cure, and that's what they're looking for. And Gabriel seems like an innocent little boy. They have all the kids going through this religious training where they're like learning the Bible and really getting like brainwashed with their their wrongful interpretation of it for sure. Like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
definitely isn't like what the Bible says to do in this book. Some of the stuff that happens later is like, what is going
Yeah.
on, man? How did people agree to this? But he takes Gabriel down, and he has Tantu tied up in the basement, and he has Gabriel set this thing off, which turns on this furnace and just like burns her.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it's the only way to kill these people.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just toasted to ashes. Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like we don't have to go through this panel by panel, but basically Little Bird's story in this one, she meets the deserter, who I couldn't find her name, but she's a character who keeps popping up.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't name her in the beginning.
I don't
does it?
think so. I think the only time they ever like referred to her was the deserter, and that's how I just started writing it in the book. But she finds someone who's like, you know what, this life ain't for me no mo. And she escapes she was like a soldier for the religious people.
Very Han Solo.
Very Han Solo. And saves Little Bird right at that moment.
The paneling on this part, I want to read the script and see how they did the
notes.
Yeah, actually, because there's so much connecting panels that blend into each other, and how it goes from one page to another. This spread right here is the one I'm talking about.
Where they get attacked by the Sentinels from the Matrix.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just visually, this guy artistically knows what he's doing storytelling wise, and I think that's what really saves this book.
Yeah,
Not
I think so
gonna
too.
lie. When you really just kind of read it for the story aspects, I mean, it could be he's following the script if it's full script. I don't know if they do full script or Marvel style, whatever. But I mean, when you just read the story itself, I think you'd be very lost without anything.
Without the right, like if you didn't have the right direction, it'd be really hard to figure it out. I think so too.
But him as a filmmaker could just be...
Could be storyboarded.
Yeah, could be all storyboarded. This guy could just be on it. So it's a good partnership. They really balance each other out with that, because it's a kind of almost... I want to say it's like a one-shot series, because you don't know if it's going to continue fully or anything as of right now.
And I'm curious to see what they do. But what... I'm surprised that there's not more filmmakers who dabble into comic books. You would think that the storytelling structure would be kind of the same. Mm-hmm. And like the vision that you need in your head is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just framing shots.
Yeah.
It's just someone has to draw them. That's the only difference. But
and you have that giant budget.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
anything you want to throw into the story, it's there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, this issue ends. Issue 2 ends with Little Bird escaping with the axe. He saves her, and they go to Elder's Hope, which is the last city.
Yes.
It's hidden in this mountain. It's kind of like the moon base on Yavin 4. Yeah. It's like the rest of the resistance is there. You know what I mean?
Is this the first story we've read that's not related to Watchmen?
Ooh, man. Well, you know what? I feel like we forgot about it for a little while. Like we stopped making the comparison. I mean, Batman, it's easier to make the comparison because Rorschach is Batman. But I don't know. I feel like I'd be really stretching if I said any of this was Watchmen.
Yeah.
But it's so heavily the hero's tale, and that's not what Watchmen is. So I think that's probably why. Probably why, yeah. Let me see here.
I do enjoy how a lot of the figures they make are very... Everyone kind of looks like a bird. They're silhouettes of everything. They look like some sort of penguin or pigeon type of aspect, like in the drawings.
That is really nice, huh?
Hunched over sometimes, but even their bodyguards here in issue 3, the guys in all black, that's all very bird-esque, just kind of covering themselves standing there.
Issue 3 is one of my favorites, man. Issue 3 it's got some crazy scenes in it. We have...
we get the more of that sci-fi Morbius kind of looking characters come out in the sand in the middle of the desert of Tatooine over here.
Yeah, they're in Alberta, and basically their idea is they have this tunneling machine that they're going to take and blow up this giant base.
Yeah.
And they're out there driving under the sand, and they get picked up by some metal scrappers who have this giant magnet to just lift stuff out of the sand. And they pick these guys up, and this guy looks he looks like he could be in Blade Runner or something. Like it's really crazy, like his character design. He's got like a cowboy thing, but then he's part cyborg, but then he's also got the tentacles.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
And that's what I mean about these characters, man.
Yeah.
All of them are they they take that modification thing and just run with it. You know,
Yeah.
like
If you're looking at that page, one of my favorite pages in the whole book is is a couple pages after that, where the soldiers are going to find that Sentinel that got destroyed in the last issue when Little Bird escaped.
oh yes, yeah,
And the Vatican wants it because there's video on it and they can figure out what happened to it. So they send some soldiers to get it, and it's in the middle of this. It's in this middle of this clearing in the woods, and we get this awesome scene where like the soldiers discover that it's like an ambush, and there's a bunch of rebels like hiding in the trees, or, like in the shadows and everything. And they just start murdering them, and it seems like they have the upper hand.
it does. And this is one of those moments I was like, wow, tides are gonna turn and
Right?
everything, but it's always too good to be true.
It's always too good to be true in this book, man.
And then we see probably one of the coolest weapons, and I know I've thought of it as a kid.
I'm so glad that you had the same. That was exactly how I felt, man. I was like, whoa, that is so awesome.
Yeah, that was something that, I mean, you figure you would see more of, like,
How has no one ever thought of this before? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or maybe someone has, but I haven't seen it.
unless you think of Wild Wild West.
Ugh. It's this pole you stick in the ground, and when you press it, you have to like lay down on the floor, and it shoots out a laser beam like in a full circle around it, and it just cuts anything that's in its way.
And it's more cutting people in half every issue. We're
Yeah,
slicing people
they
in
slice
half.
trees in half, and there's it's like interlaced with people getting chopped in half, and then at the end you just have this like bloody stumps in both meanings of the word.
Well, and
Well, we're telling two stories at the same time here, right? So that's what's going on with that side.
yeah.
And then in the desert, they got caught, but that guy turns out to have known the axe. He's like his old friend,
Yeah.
Sarge.
Yeah, very Lando Calrissian.
Very Lando Calrissian. Yes, man. You're picking up on what I'm putting down over here. Yeah, he betrays him because the Empire is offering too much money, Han. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like... so, yeah, they end up doing that whole thing, and he captures him. But this whole issue is like, it keeps flipping. It's like, oh, they have the upper hand. Oh, man, they got defeated. And then, oh, no,
Yep.
like, because after the soldiers kill all those people in the woods, they take that thing back to the ship, and they think they have it. But when they open it, Little Bird's inside. She just starts stabbing people. Like,
And this is when she meets
Gabriel. They meet face to face. He snuck on the ship, I guess.
which is her brother, right?
Gabriel is her brother,
Yeah.
yeah. And they
So
look at
who's
each other.
Gabriel's parents.
Gabriel's parents, the same people.
Same people. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
they were twins.
Oh.
Wink. Twins.
It all just clicked. Like
Right?
the whole
Oh,
story.
the whole story. Okay, yeah.
But that aspect of it. The rest of it, like I really love what they do with Gabriel.
Yeah, Gabriel shows up, and it's interesting because you would think that both of them would be aggressive towards each other. Like Little Bird would be in the position to kill
But they
anyone.
just see each other and they know.
They see each other, and there's some kind of connection there, and they know like not to. But then the deserter comes back and kidnaps Little Bird to take back because she said, well, she realizes that she's really messed up because she deserted the army. Little Bird said, no, you're not going with me. Like, I don't trust you. You know what I mean? So then she's all by herself. It's only a matter of time until she gets killed. So she thinks, if I bring this little girl back that Bishop's going to want, then maybe they'll let me back in and I won't have to worry about it. So she flip-flops. She's a flipping and flopping.
Just like this whole issue.
Yeah,
She,
just like this whole issue.
represents this whole issue.
Because then we get back and the axe is about to get sold to Bishop and we think, oh man, this is it for this dude.
And then he fights back.
He fights
And then
back
he
because
kills some people like crazy.
because Sarge ends up changing his mind.
Yeah.
And they get in this awesome fight with Bishop. Bishop and Axe are going like head to head, and he's got these giant versions of those same like drone things we were talking
exactly.
about. Man, it's just so cool, and it reminds me a lot of this part especially. I've been reading and watching a lot of Evangelion, which also has a lot of Christian themes and crosses, and it's very much like it's religiously impacted for sure. But in this issue in particular, I kind of see like those big creatures look like angels from Evangelion.
I could see that.
And it's just really interesting, man. They have a cool fight. They're torching Axe like,
and that's the crazy part is that this issue flips again because Axe is just going at it, and you think he's gonna win, and then, I mean, again he gets sliced up.
Yeah, so they're like really torching him. Little Bird shows up. He gets upset, and he realizes in that moment that Little Bird is his granddaughter. Yep. He sees it in her eyes. He sees that it's the same eyes as his baby. But then, yeah, one of those guys just straight up chops him in half, and that's the end of the axe.
And then you think that she's escaping, she's getting away.
Yeah.
And then that great page turn moment is always awesome. Man. And you're just...
Ooh, yeah, he stabs her right through the chest.
And it's one of those moments is that she keeps coming back to life, but every time you feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's still a dramatic, like, punch in the gut that this girl just got hurt again, you know? And it's something hard, I mean, especially with someone with invulnerability, basically. It's hard to be like, oh, she's going to come back. Because at a certain point, you feel like she's not going to come back.
Yeah. Like, and even myself, I was like, as soon as I saw Axe got chopped in half, I was like, well, man, they're probably just going to, like, pull those body parts apart and, like, burn them. And it's such a bummer. But what I do like about it is some comic books give characters immortality, and then it feels like way too much.
Oh yeah,
like Wolverine, for instance.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they kill him, it took them a long time to do it though.
Yeah.
But it kind of takes some of the fun away when the character just can't be defeated. But in Little Bird, it's like they are super strong and they have a huge advantage. But yeah, they can die.
Yeah, and that's the cool part.
And most of them do.
And like her mom.
Yeah.
Mom's done.
Her mom's just ashes. Yeah.
And what happens here in issue 4
is
just another example of that.
The first page of issue 4 is one of my favorite one of my favorite couple pages I've read in a long time, man.
Yeah, it gave me a real Lord of the Rings kind of feel.
It starts off with this black lace weaver. It's a spider, and it's got a close up on it, and it's showing that there's like hundreds of eggs, and then the eggs hatch, and these little ants, little spiders, the first thing they do is they need a feed, so they eat the mother.
Yeah.
So you just have this little ant, or this little spider. Why do I keep saying ant? This little spider. I'm just thinking Ant-Man right now. This little spider is just getting demolished or like devoured by all these tiny spiders. And then at the same time, we like zoom out, and it turns out that those spiders are in Elder's Hope. And now the Vatican has found them.
Yeah.
And they're there, and they're like separating people, and as they're separating all these people, and the soldiers are like, take this group over here, take this group over here. One of the soldiers walks along and just like crushes all the spiders. Like half the spiders are just like destroyed. And it's kind of like the same thing that's happened in the story so far. You have the mother who sacrificed herself for the child, and then the child's just getting like stomped on by this like giant oppressive force.
I didn't notice that connection the first time.
It's crazy. Right. It's just really good imagery. And then what do we have next? Well, Little Bird gets kind of another flashback because she's dead again. She's in this like other world. She sees her mom again. It's this weird, like, it can pop into any moment of history.
Where she's one with the Force and kind of getting images, The
last time we left off with Tantu in history, she was pregnant hiding in this tree, and now we come back, and now she's holding twins. And then Bishop shows up, and he smacks her, she drops the babies, and she only grabs one of them and escapes. And Bishop grabs the other. So this is the moment when Gabriel and Little Bird are separated.
There you go.
And it's hard to determine. I was kind of curious about this. What makes Gabriel so sick? Is it this world that they live in? Is it because they live in this like society and they're consuming something that they're not supposed to be? Because it looks like all the tentacle bath and everything doesn't look like it'd be very good for you. You know what I mean?
When you look at the people, too, how sickly they are,
It's something about the place that they're in. But because Little Bird has been living out in nature with her mom. In Canada, good old, the true north. She's fine. Man, the next page, too, they wake Little Bird up because they wake her up from this dream. But
this is one of my favorite pages because color-wise, this is phenomenal.
It's crazy. And I love the page right before it because we have these tree branches growing out during her dream.
Into it.
And they just start like puncturing through her body.
Yeah.
And it looks like a tree's growing from inside of her. And then suddenly, she's plugged into this machine.
And now it's tubes, yeah. It's nature replaced by machine at that point, which is creepy.
Very creepy. Also kind of Matrixy too, I guess.
Yeah.
In the same way. I didn't make that connection as much when I was like reading it, but now that I think about it, I could see like a lot of that kind of influence.
And these great like nun people that they're floating around in these balls, was that part explained?
No, not necessarily.
It's just part of the universe.
You just know that they're like upper echelon.
Yeah.
They're not as high as Bishop is, but they're pretty close. And Bishop's not even in charge.
Yeah.
Which is where the sequel's got to go to. You know what I mean? It's got to be the next big thing. They got to rebuild the Death Star. So Little Bird is captured, but not for long. Like she busts out of there really quick. She like tricks one of the guards into getting too close and kills him. And then She takes Gabriel. She finds him. They realize their relationship. They go down to visit the mother because that's what Little Bird asked her to take me to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And they open up that thing and it's just ashes on the floor. And that's when you know for sure that like there's no way there's no coming back from that.
Exactly. And then you also see that the people Bishop rules over are kind of getting fed up with all this.
Yeah.
That they don't believe that there's a God and why they've forsaken
like why have you
them.
forsaken us?
Mm-hmm.
You know, my son has died. My family is, you know, sick. Like, why hasn't anything happened?
Which is, I mean, a giant argument between religious people and like, you know, worshiping and all that, which is interesting how they were able to kind of very smoothly blend that type of thing in. Yeah.
Yeah, without a lot of effort, they were able to hit a couple big themes, I think, all at once. And maybe we haven't explained this yet in our little discussion here, but Little Bird, the reason Bishop wants her is because he knows whose Little Bird kid is, knows that she has the regeneration gene, and they need it to save Gabriel.
Exactly.
Which I guess Gabriel doesn't have the regeneration gene, even though he's... Because I guess there would only be half a chance of getting it.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense to me.
And then the girl, like, chromosome ends up getting it at that point.
Exactly,
so that makes sense, yeah.
So then Little Bird escapes. She's running through this crowd of people. And this is one of my favorite page turn moments of the book, where you turn the page and there's literally this giant crucifix that has to be 20, 30 stories tall.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Filled with little crucifixes with people hanging on them. So you got to imagine one giant cross, but on that cross is made up of people who are crucified.
Yeah.
And it's so brutal, man. It's like
scary.
It's like, oh my God, like what is going on in here? Little Bird gets drugged again and gets captured again. Yeah.
And then she talks to her brother, which she learns more about her brother and makes that connection about his past and how he feels and actually how much he's missed her and missed her mom at least. And he used to draw pictures of who he thought she was and what she looked like and everything. And then you really see how similar they look to each other. And once you see that, that's the next moment just unfolding.
Yeah, because they're talking to it, and you see that he has his mask in his hand, like he's taking it off, but what he's really doing is like putting it on, I think. He's covering Little Bird with the mask, and then he's letting himself be sacrificed. And this is that moment I was talking about.
Yeah.
Where when I read the end of issue 4, I just thought it was Little Bird. Like, I thought it was her that gets torched, because they take her out to this Coliseum. They say, hey, we have this criminal or whatever. Now we have a cure for what's going on. And then they burn him. And I was just like, what? Little Bird's dead again?
Exactly, yeah. No, that's another moment where you're just like, you know that they're dying, but you still feel so sad that they're dying. And at the end of every issue, this girl dies.
Issue, the last 2 pages of this issue are 6 months later. So we just get a huge time jump, and we see Sarge, the one who betrayed Axe in the desert. He's going back, and he found that vehicle from when he captured him. And just like Lando Calrissian, he's got to do one for the old times.
Yep.
You know, he's got to help a brother out. Yeah.
And,
so
you know, looking at the characters, even they've aged. Stuff has happened in the 6 months.
Yeah.
Everyone looks different. Like, people are working together. It's like Lando working with the rebellion at that point.
Yeah, Lando joins up. The deserter realizes there was a mistake, and she's working with Sarge. But then
Little Bird has aged.
We see older Little Bird.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I was like, what?
Yeah, but you have to go back and be like, what? As
And-
a monthly book, this would really throw me for a loop.
Yeah, which is another thing I was going to say. The creator of this book purposely didn't want to put out a trade paperback so that people would be more likely to pick up the single issues, visit a comic book store, read it how it was intended. They are releasing a hardcover, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is going to be more expensive than these were. And they even say that in the back of the comic. Like, you know, we wanted to make sure that the cheapest and most accessible way to read it would be single issue.
Yeah.
But we are going to do a deluxe hardcover.
And
which
I
I'm
think
gonna have
that's
to
going
buy.
to be so worth it because it looks like they're going to have a lot of... I mean, all these issues, I don't know how it is on those. I was reading it digitally.
Yeah.
But all the issues that I'm reading have great artwork in the back of them,
Yeah.
which are stunning. So to have
Yeah,
an
man.
oversized way to look at it, it's going to be great.
I'm so down. Like,
so many of these things,
yeah.
I just want as a poster. You
yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? Like,
There's just... It's incredible imagery, man. We get into the final battle, though.
and it's very Matrixy in the final battle, too.
Yeah, it is. Like you're talking about the last Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Little Bird shows up. to Elder's Hope, which has now been taken over and is this kind of like re-education camp.
Yeah.
And the deserters there, all the soldiers are there. They're getting wiped though. Like they're not going to be able to put up the fight. And as the fight's continuing, it looks like that the deserter is murdered. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, no. I think I skipped something. The deserter gets killed before... Oh, they flew in on some kind of ship or something. And the deserter uses the ship's engines. I was a little unclear about what was going on here. But they suck everyone out of the cave. Like, they suck all the enemy soldiers out of the cave. And I thought it was like they were using the ship somehow to do it. But this happens just at this moment where it looks like Little Bird's going to be like stomped to death by Bishop because they're fighting each other, which
is another brutally red scene.
Yeah, he like chops her legs off in that scene. But it's really the deserter who ends up saving the day, and you get this Little Bird who's like covered in sand and is like deformed and disfigured and like stabs Bishop in the neck right at the last moment. It's a crazy scene.
Interesting because she's saying she is the land, and then it looks like she's literally warping with the world below her. Yeah. And I love that. Like, and how she pops back up and she stabs him in the throat, doesn't she? Oh, she slits his throat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then after the battle, we get the last flashback, don't we?
Yeah, there.
Which one?
Boom.
Oh, the boom. Yeah.
Bodies. Yeah.
Just all these dead bodies. Well, it seems like they're like almost the only two bodies left in there, because once she sucks all those people out with the ship, she blows the ship up, and the deserter kills herself.
And the people pull the cross down, and that's the end of that chapter, basically.
That's it. Like the people wise up after that. They're free from tyrannical reign.
And the rest of the comic, I want to say, is just backstory, so you understand what happened to the family, and then we bounce back to the present.
You get that final bit where where Axe is captured and his daughter's taken, Tantu.
Yes, yeah.
You finally get that little bit, and then we get this epilogue.
You see the full scope of it.
Little Bird's like rebuilt her little community, and she's there, and then he comes back. Bishop comes back.
He's been hunting her down.
Yeah, and I guess he also had the regeneration gene too, but he looks bad. He looks in bad shape. It's not the same for him. And he's about to kill her, but then like the religious soldiers have turned on him as well. Like somehow they've kind of like reprogrammed society.
I mean, like you said, they all smartened up.
Yeah.
They all realized what they should be doing. So I'm excited to see if the next comic is a continuation of this, what the world is like now. Yeah. Going from a theocracy to whatever else.
Whatever else is going to happen.
Yeah, how they're going to be ruling, what the characters' actions are, and what their roles are being played. As they were enforcers, so now what? Like, what are they enforcing? What are they trying to like fix and accomplish at this point?
Well, and it also ends with this kind of cryptic line, which I don't know if you got a meaning out of it, where Little Bird says, "The child has arrived." Yeah, and in the final pages, she blows up the little house that Bishop was in to make sure he's gone.
Yeah.
And then she says, "Oki," which is the name of the owl. Yeah. "Oki, come. The child has arrived. It doesn't end here, not like this." And I'm like, what child are we talking about?
It reminds me a lot of a series called Descender, which has now become Ascender. After they finished the first series of that story. Very sci-fi, by Jeff Lemire and Dustin. I always forget his last name, but they're great people. But Image Comics is really good at getting artists and writers to create a universe together and just kind of slowly disperse that universe and create their own thing. Saga, it's a great example. Have you read Saga?
I haven't read it, but I've seen a lot of it, I guess. I've thumbed through a bunch. I should.
You should totally do Saga.
Lowe's another great example. Another Image comic.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that's what's cool about these, that they're very world crafting stories, and I think that's what Image does best most of all.
Yeah. Have you seen the last, I don't know if it's the same in your digital version, these last 3 pages that are black and white?
Yeah.
It's got to be some kind of teaser, because we get a look at another child,
and it's purely shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's you don't see a lot of 5-issue arcs.
No.
They're very oversized, I feel, too.
They are. They're big books. They're big comics. Like, it could have been 6 regular issues, but the pacing would have been weird, I think.
Yeah. I think it came out just right for each one. especially for their first works that are being out there and really getting seen. I think it got our attention.
Yeah, for reals, man.
Definitely.
And I'm so stoked. And I said this last episode, but when I was in Canada, I picked up Little Bird issue 3.
Oh, yeah.
So like the super Canadian comic book I got in Canada. I was just super stoked about it.
It's too cool.
I should have stamped it or something. Made in Canada.
Don't ruin it like that.
No, yeah, we're in the value, right on the cover, like right on his face.
We'll definitely do something when the hardcover comes out and the next art comes out.
At least a little short video. We've been talking about doing these short videos. That would be a great one.
Yeah, definitely.
Where we can just do a quick little
Show the
summary of
artwork
Little Bird.
and stuff like that.
Hey, this is a story about, a little girl against the Empire. It's got religious symbolism. It's sci-fi
This is
jam.
New Star Wars.
This is brutal Star Wars. And it's been better than the last 4 Star Wars movies.
Oh, more than that.
Right? Oh, the last 7 Star Wars movies.
Yeah. Great. I'm so glad we did this. And it's a good refreshing break out of all the superheroes. And I know you and me have talked about it a lot, but we love comics. We love our heroes. You're wearing a Marvel t-shirt right now, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But, it's getting really fried out to where we're not enjoying what comics do sometimes. And this was a good bring back of why comics are great, what they do for us, why they entertain us so much. And it's not always about superheroes,
And for me, like 90% of the comic books I read are non-superhero comics.
Yeah.
And the only exceptions are stuff we read for the channel. And I read Spider-Man Life Story, which was excellent.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like this because, man, and it's what you've been saying this whole time. In a comic book, you can create a world with no limits, no financial limits, no, can we make this look good practically even with a ton of money, or is it going to be silly?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. And that's so cool, man. It's so refreshing. Man, I would love to see a cartoon though.
Yeah,
I'm right on with you, man. A good
that.
animated movie or something.
This is another series that's a perfect example of like, if you got the greatest writer in the world and the greatest artist in the world in one room together and they said to create something, the outcome would be a comic book.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of like getting 2 great people together and making a piece of work,
Yeah.
And it's a crazy story.
It really is.
It blows my mind still.
There's so many twists all over the place.
And it's worth rereading 2, 3, 4 times. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's a lot in there, and
cool.
Understanding the pacing and everything. And I think that's what drives some people away from books like this is that it's too much for them at a certain point. To
like sensory overload.
Yeah.
Oh, or you mean just confusion wise?
Yeah, exactly.
Like Umbrella Academy, Oblivion, or whatever it is. Oblivion.
Yeah, we gotta do something on that
Hotel
now.
Oblivion.
Yeah. I haven't read the last issue.
I couldn't figure it out, man. I was so confused.
Did you read all of it?
I was getting upset. Yeah, I was getting upset. I was getting upset of how confusing it was.
I haven't read all of it.
I finished reading 7, and then at the end of it, I was like, "What is this?" Really? I need to read the whole thing again. I think what happened was I waited too long between every issue.
I got to do a full reread.
Yeah.
Just like Doomsday Clock.
Dude, we should though. Actually, we should hop back onto. Doomsday Clock. Anyway, it's like I'm not looking forward to reading 12 issues again when it finally finishes.
Doomsday Clock is we're kind of done with the book right now. Anyways.
Yeah, this is our segment of the show called the Doomsday Clock, where we tell you how far along it is before the next issue comes out.
12 months until the countdown. Issue 11 is solicited for September.
We should get a little sign that says, like, podcast since Doomsday Clock has been pushed back. It'll just always be on 0 because every episode is going to be pushed back a little bit more.
Let's do it.
We should. We should
I have a Doomsday Clock poster.
We should. That'd be hilarious.
But they haven't solicited issue 12 yet, and the solicitations for October are already out. So
these hacks. I don't even think I read the last issue, to be honest. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
It didn't. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it, but it talked about Superman a lot.
No, I don't think I read it. I bought it. It was the black and white issue, right? There was one, like the cover was black and white.
That's probably one of the best issues in the story so
really?
far. Yeah.
Well, I'll wait till 12 and read the whole thing.
But I'm not going to lie. I don't know how they're going to bring it all together.
Man,
I think that's why it's taking so long.
I want to hold my reservation, but I feel the same way about this new Watchmen show. That, like, are you guys clever enough to make sense out of this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm
just
getting
hesitant.
out of it too.
Because before Watchmen couldn't do it, Doomsday Clock, every day I'm more doubtful that they're going to stick the landing, dude.
I know, me too.
I mean, you don't push something back.
Issue 12 is going to be an oversized 120-page graphic novel to wrap it all up and bring it together.
Comes out like 2023 or something.
Yeah, like
Doomsday Clock, issue 12.
Well, they had the collected edition solicited for earlier this year for the full thing to come out, and that's gone. And now they have Doomsday Clock Part 1 coming out, like I think in October as well, which is the first 6 issues.
Okay.
But
well, you might as well just wait for the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Doomsday Clock, the clock strikes 12.
I think that... Let me see when Doomsday Clock issue 1...
Yeah, you look it up. Well, while you do that, maybe we should just get into pull list. I mean, is there anything else we wanted to talk about today?
No, I think that's... I mean... I'm glad we took a break from the superhero stuff. We try to keep in with modern times so people could listen to the show, read some comics, know where the TV shows and all the media are coming from. And that's what people are really driven towards.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people wouldn't read The Boys, but now that Boys is a TV show...
Now they're going to read The Boys, yeah.
They're going to want to read The Boys and read all this stuff.
Speaking of which, we're going to talk about that on the show pretty soon. So
yes.
if you want to join in on that conversation...
Super excited about that
check out the TV show, which is what I need to do, too. I haven't started it yet.
November 22nd, 2017 was issue 1 of Doomsday Clock. We are 2 years out.
2 years out for 12-issue series.
Unless issue 2 comes out in November, which I doubt. But
that would actually be kind of cool. If issue 12 came out in November, I'd be okay with that. 2 years for 12 issues. That's like an issue on average every 2 months.
Yeah.
But at first they were coming out pretty regularly, weren't they?
Yeah, it was every month. Yeah. And then it's like bi-month, and then it's tri-monthly, and then it's quarterly. And
now it's like whenever.
Now it's going to... But even Jeff Johns' Shazam work is getting pushed back like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super weird. I don't know what's going on with all that. That guy does have a lot on his plate, though. Won't lie. So, what else? Oh, pull list.
Pull list.
You know, I've been... It's funny. I was just talking about how sick I am of superheroes, and this is a big reason why.
You're just reading a bunch of Marvel, aren't you?
I've been reading a lot of Marvel.
Yeah.
But I have so much Marvel in my boxes. I'm trying to read everything I own at this point.
Yeah.
So I could catch up and be solidified in what I do, you know?
Yeah.
But I've been reading, oh my gosh, Civil War 2. I did the Silent War. I did a bunch of Spidey stuff that takes place after the first Civil War, where Spidey is unmasked. It's literally called Spider-Man Unmasked, and then into Back in Black, which I hope they do in the movies, because he goes back to the black suit post, unmasking himself and all that. So I read that stuff. A handful of other random Spideys, and then I did a Secret Empire where Captain America is actually working with Hydra, and it connects to the whole Cosmic Cube, and it's not really the real Cap, and all that type of stuff.
Of course.
But it's such a dense series. It's like 12 issues, and each one's oversized, similar to these.
Wow, okay.
But I feel like I read it, didn't really make a big mark on me, and it's like, all right, well, at least I read what I paid for, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm getting out of those right now. But I'm very excited to actually read some good Marvel stuff. Donnie Cates' Thanos run, however you want to say
it.
Is supposed to be phenomenal, and it has the Cosmic Ghost Rider in it, who's Frank Castle. Bunch of cool stuff. I'm gonna read it, and if it's worth reading, both of us reading it, I would definitely.
I'll be super interested in that, man.
Yeah, it's supposed to be some cool stuff.
And I'm gonna say this on air, so we have to do it, but we need to do a what if issue. Or what if episode where we pick some what ifs. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, I gotta do some research.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It is on the list.
And then I got the World War Hulk and Planet Hulk stuff. I got the omnibuses for that. And I'm not like a big Hulk fan, but it just sounds like some cool, brutal, different, space Hulk stuff. Yeah. I've always been pretty interested in that storyline. It sounds super cool. Very different from Ragnarok and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's what's interesting. Because on World War Hulk, he comes back from when they shot him in space and just destroys everybody. And you see all the Marvel characters just on the ground. And I'm up for that.
That's cool. That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
I've always kind of wanted to read Marvel Zombies for the same reason, just to see everyone get murdered.
There's some cool stuff about those weird timelines and everything. So
Mr. Kirkman too, I think.
But what else have I been reading? As of now, not much. I've been working on a lot of my own stuff right now. So
myself, well, I mean, obviously Little Bird. I've been reading still Evangelion. I just bought the last couple books in single issue comic. I need 5 more issues and I'll be done.
Nice.
And they're only like $1.70 online or something. They're really cheap.
Okay, cool.
So I'm gonna get those last few, finish reading that. That'll just be exciting. I can't express. If you're an Evangelion fan, man, it's such a different ride.
Really?
The characters are explained in different ways, and I can't say for sure whether I like it more or not, but there's some things where I mean, some of the characters I feel like I know them better through the comic book.
That's always good. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
General.
So that's really cool. I don't know if there's... Oh, I checked out this comic Operation Overlord, which is out now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think issue 3 is going to come out. I have issue 2. Okay. It's one of those annoying things where I missed the first issue, but it's one of those stupid oversized books. Looks like a magazine, but it's a very realistic and like gritty telling of World War II.
Oh, wow. Oh, you were telling me about that.
Oh, was I talking about it last time?
Yeah.
Okay, it's because I was reading 2 World War... I had that, like, cute one, but then there's also, like, a very real one.
Yeah, that's the one.
So, man, I don't know if there's anything else I've read. Oh, Archie vs. Predator 2 came out.
I saw that.
Which is super silly. I picked it up. I haven't read it yet. I'm excited for that.
I got to show you the Batman vs. Predator and Superman vs. Alien figures.
We should do a Predator crossover episode.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, Danny was talking about wanting to do one with Prometheus and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
that'd be cool.
We'd love to do that.
Yeah, except everyone hates those movies, but
yeah,
I like Prometheus. I'll stand
Prometheus. by it. I thought Alien Covenant wasn't horrendous.
I think it's bad, but it's not like so bad that
it's unwatchable.
It's not unwatchable. Yeah. It's just not uninspiring.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's nothing to write home to your mom about.
Yeah.
Well,
that's it. I mean, we'll touch base. We're actually going to go over The Boys, hopefully next.
Yeah.
I'm watching the show right now. I'm interested. Garth Ennis did a phenomenal Punisher run, and I'm going to talk about that a lot because it's crazy. It's a lot what that game was based off of.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
War Journal?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is?
Partly.
If I can get my brother to do it, I'll have to bring it out because my brother has a complete Punisher collection all the way up till like 2002.
Really?
And I'm saying every issue of the Punisher.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of the stuff after 2002.
Yeah. Yeah. He dropped out of comic books. Like, you know what I mean? He was going really hard into it. And then you have a kid and yada, yada, yada. And
do you ever watch the show?
I still haven't. And I love the Punisher. Like, the Punisher's one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Yeah.
But I didn't hop in on that MCU TV thing. So
I only did a handful of them.
Yeah. And
I didn't finish.
I have to at least watch Daredevil because he shows up in that, right? Like, that's where he shows up, Punisher.
In season 2. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, to be honest...
There's so much now. And that's what annoys me, is that it used to be a sprinkle here and there, and it was enjoyable. But now there's like... That's why I just watch the cartoons.
What upsets me is Punisher should just have his own movie. He's not Luke Cage. He's not Iron Fist. Like, he deserves his own movie. Yeah. So does Daredevil. Daredevil's a big enough character to have his own movie.
Yeah. But
Ben Affleck had to ruin it for everybody, didn't you, Ben?
Again.
Didn't you have to ruin it for everybody?
They just need to not let him ever do a superhero again.
Yeah. Well, I'll blame Zack Snyder.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, check us out next time, everybody. Same bat time, same bat place.
We'll actually be doing more Batman stuff later on, too.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll finish off the 80th anniversary.
Ow.
Ooh. All right. Have a good one.